Alrighty. Hello. We just wanted to say thank you for everyone who's listened to our podcast. And we also wanted to ask for your help. The number one thing we need for this podcast to grow, to get more friends involved, is for you to share it and to give it 5 stars.
It would mean the world to us, and we really appreciate your support.
This is Run the Day with Rafe
and Tay.
We're runners, we're married, and now we've got a podcast. Why? Because we love running so much that we wanted to share it with you, our friends.
Today's topic, how to get better at running when you're not running.
Hey, you saying I could be a better runner when I'm not running?
Yes, you can.
Oh my gosh, that's
Sometimes
crazy.
that's the most important part.
Whoa.
Is your time away from actually running.
Wow.
So today we're going to cover the tips and tricks, the lessons we've learned, everything that has helped us become better runners when we're not actually running.
Stick around if you're anyone that's starting to get into the sport and you're saying, hey, how do I become better at this thing? Well, a lot of times we're not thinking about the stuff that's not running on our feet. And today we're covering that. So let's do it.
I think that we should start off with something simple that might seem obvious, but it's important to talk about is strength training.
Oh,
No?
I hate strength training.
I know you do. Sometimes you feel like you don't want to do it. You already went for your run. Now you have to go to the gym.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's extremely important. And I've personally noticed training for different races, I just feel a lot stronger and healthier when I incorporate strength training into my routine versus when I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little tricky because you feel like you want to just focus on getting your mileage up. Your legs are tired, but it's really important for preventing injury. And
Yep.
whether you're actively running right now or you're thinking about starting to get back into it, just keeping up a good strength training routine really keeps you healthy and strong.
I do not love strength training. So what helps me get there is realizing the fact that when we're running, 6 times a week or however many times you're running, it is just the process of breaking down your muscles day after day, every run. And really strength training is the great tool set that you have to build back up those muscles. So as Tay mentioned, for a lot of people, when you sign up for a race, especially I think for folks that go from like not running to straight to like, hey, I'm going to run a marathon, which is awesome. It's a big transition for your body.
Yeah.
And I think strength training is a key aspect to getting yourself through day 1 of the training program to race day.
Yeah, for sure. It gets you all the way to the finish line healthy. There's so many other factors that go into it, but when you incorporate strength training, you could just be a lot healthier and strong, and you don't want to hurt yourself. So that's the most important thing.
So, Tay,
Yeah.
you actually have a certification in this. What is the certification specifically?
It's a NASM Certified Personal Training Certificate.
So as a certified personal trainer, for someone who does not have experience with strength training,
Yeah.
can you break down kind of an overview of what you're doing in the gym?
Sure. So I also have experience training and having a certificate with sports performance. So it really is important to look at them both as a whole. So making sure that you have a nice balance of when you have a recovery day, maybe don't do your strength training on that day. Do your strength training after a hard speed workout. That way you have a full day to recover and then be able to pick it back up the next time you have a speed workout.
Yep.
Obviously, it's, you have to do what works for you. But thinking about balancing when you do your strength workout and doing it before a certain workout. So a lot of times people question, do I strength train before I do my run or do I strength train after my run? And honestly, it just matters what your focus and what your priority is, because you're going to be tired after you do your run and then go to the gym. So I personally like putting strength training after your run if you're going to be training and prioritizing your running. That's what your goal is. And in terms of going to the gym and what you're going to be doing is it can be very basic and just keeping up your strength. You don't need to go so heavy and max out on your lifts. It can just be something that's very functional, a lot of movement, and you want to make sure that you're incorporating workouts or exercises that you don't normally do every day. So when you're running, you obviously want running focused exercises, but if you're not moving in other planes of motion, you want to make sure that you're working on that as well. So that way you're just a well-rounded, healthy athlete. when you're in your preseason or you have a far out amount of time before you're going to be racing, that's when you're going to go heavier with your weights and you're trying to build up that strength after you have like a nice foundation. Of course, you want to just jump into heavy weights.
Yeah.
But then, say you're in a good place and you're a little bit far out from your race, you want to make sure that that's when you're really starting to build up your strength. And then as you get closer to race day, that's when you can, it's just like your running program. It's going to tailor a little bit and you're going to have a nice like taper. You might incorporate a little bit more powerful exercises and a little more explosiveness and just make sure that it's all aligning with your race plan. And I'm specifically talking about racing, but
my question is, if you could only pick 3 muscles that are the most important ones to train as you're running, what would you pick?
That's a good question. I think it depends if you had previous injuries or that you're weak in certain areas. Like for you, I know like your hamstrings, you've had injuries. Some people have had issues with like plantar fasciitis. So it depends on what your background is. But I guess if you have to make a general statement, which just has a lot of asterisks to it.
You don't have to.
I guess I would say you want to make sure you're doing workouts that are mimicking your run, right? So think about from like the ground up. You want to make sure your feet are healthy and strong, your ankles, your calves, your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings. Those are obviously the most important things. So stuff like, Romanian deadlifts, single leg work is really important. And then those little exercises that you feel maybe are silly and don't make a big difference. But if you do, hip exercises or calf raises, those are going to really help you. And of course, you don't want to forget about your upper body because you are using your arms when you're running.
Yeah, I feel like that's often forgotten.
A nice little like tip or trick that actually Coach Dan from the Heartbreak Run Club said that has always stuck with me is it's more important to focus on the things that you did do versus things you didn't do.
Yeah.
So if every day you do your hip exercises or some core workout, those little things are going to add up and make more of a difference than that one day that you didn't go to the gym and do a full workout.
Yeah.
So it's those little things that add up and keep you healthy, and that's what's important.
Let's talk about sleeping. When you start running, at least when we started, I was tired.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
still tired a lot.
Yeah.
But when I really started, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah. If I go for a run that day or go to the gym, I always just sleep way better.
So I think it's important to prioritize your sleep. And it may be obvious to people, but I feel like maybe a year ago is when I really realized that your body recovers as you're sleeping. Like sleep is really this crazy process where our body goes from like broken to building itself back up and getting ready for the next day. And like, I don't think I ever fathomed that. Even when we were running, at college, sleep was never a factor to me.
I always just looked at it as like, I don't want to be tired the next day.
Exactly.
It was always about like my energy level.
And like recovering.
Yeah, but it wasn't about focusing on like sleep is when your whole body is recovering your muscles.
It's like repairing itself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It is actually pretty cool.
So, we always plug our Whoops. Shout out to Whoop. I think that started us in our journey of caring about our sleep and prioritizing it. So something that I would want to touch upon briefly that makes you a better runner is talking about sleep itself and how to get better quality sleep. When you're sleeping, you really want your body's only task to be sleeping.
To focus on like recovering.
Yeah. So when you are eating a late meal and your body is digesting through the night, that's going to impact your sleep. When you're in front of television screens and your brain is overstimulated when you go to bed, that's going to impact your sleep. When you consume alcohol and your body's priority is removing its poison from the body, that's impacting your sleep. These are all things that have a negative impact on how quality your night of sleep is.
You're saying if you do these things, it's taking away your body's focus on recovering your muscles so you are prepared for the next day. And instead, it's spreading its energy to go and get the alcohol out of your body or to digest the food. When really, if you ate earlier or didn't have your too many drinks, your body would be focusing on recovering and you'll be healthier and better tomorrow and a better runner.
I like to think, none of us are perfect. We're going to do things that are bad for sleeping. We're going to have a night out. We're going to eat something. Exactly. We're going to eat some ice cream. But I think being aware that the majority of time when you can, try to be cognizant of how the decisions you're making are impacting your body's ability to just focus on sleeping when you go to bed.
Yeah. So I guess the key word is like recovering. We want our bodies to be recovering in these hours that we're putting ourselves to bed. And you kind of spoke about quality over quantity. Can you talk about ideas of having a better quality? Like what's worked for you?
Yeah. So there are REM cycles. Ideally, in slow wave deep sleep is when your muscles are actually recovering. So however you maximize that REM cycle is going to be most beneficial to your quality of sleep. So I think some things that we've implemented that have helped us in that factor is we are so high maintenance when we go to bed now. I feel like when we like stay at a friend's or something, it's like, I feel like embarrassed doing all of these things, but hey, like you got to do what works. The sleep mask has been big.
Yes, it's weighted. We got off Amazon.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Also, we live in a place, which maybe other people do. If you're city living or living in an apartment, sometimes blocking out all light is not possible. And also, I do not like blackout curtains because for the nights where I do not wear an eye mask, I try to wake up naturally to the sunlight as you should.
Yeah, it helps
so when you have blackout curtains, it's tough to get out of bed.
Yeah, for sure. It really is. But that does help you have better quality sleep.
It does. It's a give and take. I like the mask because I kind of control the blackout. You know, I could still like this morning I had the mask on and I kind of peered it open. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so bright. And yeah, that got me up.
Yeah.
So sleep mask is one thing. The weighted blanket has been huge.
The weighted eye mask and weighted blanket. We love.
We're weighted. Weighted blanket. I use it a lot recently, but I try to reserve it for like when I'm like, I need an excellent sleep tonight.
I use it every night. We sleep.
I know.
Here.
I just wonder sometimes if like, you know, it's if we're stripping away the excitement of using a weighted blanket because we're using it so often.
I think I just look forward to sleeping and using it and just like relaxing.
It's amazing.
So I don't use a weighted blanket if I'm just like on the couch or just hanging out.
Because you're going to fall asleep.
Exactly. So
it's like being hugged. That's what they say.
So you're saving it for sleep.
Yeah. So weighted eye mask, weighted blanket. I think some other small things like I think we've tried to like turn the lights off like before bed, not get exposed to so much blue light.
Yes, for sure. And trying to, turning your phone on that like sleep mode.
Yeah.
So you don't have to get all your notifications or texts or
Yep.
It's hard not to be on your phone before bed, but
for sure.
I do my best. And I think it makes a difference.
It does make a difference.
Yeah. Because then you feel like you're so stimulated before going to bed. Just really try to have a wind down routine, which again, is just so comical because I feel like we are so high maintenance.
So high maintenance. The amount of time. So there was at one point where on my face, just my face, there were 3 different things. And yes. I do still live by these things and we could go through them in maybe a different time. I was taping my mouth to become a better nasal breather, which is super beneficial. And for anyone who can't breathe well through their nose, highly suggest. I was using a nasal, like nostril expander. So I put like a plug in my nose that opened up my canals, whatever the hell they are in my nose. And I had a mask on. So if I stayed at someone's house and you see me with all of this stuff, you're like, this guy.
Wait, you also
crazy.
Had a weighted blanket on?
Oh, yeah. I'm saying just on my face, there were 3 things alone.
Yeah, that's so funny. It actually helped. I tried the mouth taping. And there's so much research and science behind it about how it helps you become a better runner.
Really, we are not meant to breathe in through our mouths. Only when it's like a fight or flight situation. So sometimes
like sprinting.
When you're running really hard, you cannot just breathe in through your nose. You need your mouth. But when you breathe in through your nose, our nose is actually purifying air and it's giving you better quality oxygen to your brain.
There's a lot of science and research behind it. And then from our own experience, it's helped.
One last thing with sleeping.
Yeah.
Temperature.
Yes, cold.
68, is it?
That's what we like to do. We've heard that you should do cold.
66 to like 68, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You ideally, again, this is high maintenance stuff, but you ideally want to go to bed cold, and then around the time you wake up, it goes back to warm.
Yeah.
Because then it's easier to get out of bed.
I mean, we haven't done that, but I would love to try to figure out a way to get like our air conditioning system to do that.
I think you can. I couldn't figure it out.
You could program it. Who knows?
I was trying. But anyway, prioritize your sleep.
Yes.
I know that sucks. It's going to be sometimes a little bit of a lifestyle change, I think.
Yeah, but it does make a really big difference.
But if you're passionate about getting better at the sport, you got to show up day in and day out the best version of yourself, or the best you can do that day.
Yeah.
And sleep is going to be a big factor in that.
So I guess we can kind of jump into eating and drinking. So food, nutrition, hydration, all of those kinds of things that help you become a better runner, which I feel like we've learned some really interesting things over the course of the past few years.
I agree.
One of them being that certain like foods and drinks kind of have like superpowers. That's what I like to call it, because it was so interesting and cool to learn that. I mean, you can kind of talk about it because I think you're the one that found out, or you did the research and found it. So talk to me about these like superpower drinks and foods.
I'm sure there's more that we even
I'm
don't.
actually drinking right now.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more we don't even know about. But juice wise, we do tart cherry juice.
Yes. And
what does that do?
So tart cherry juice, it kind of helps with your inflammation. It helps with melatonin release, helps you sleep better, helps with recovery, to put it in very general sense.
And then there was beet juice, which helps with the oxygen, like carrying oxygen throughout your blood cells.
Throughout your body. Right? So the beet juice, a lot of people love to drink before like races, like leading up to it, and it helps them with the oxygen levels in your body, and just people say it really works. There's research behind it.
The rough taste though. Tart cherry can drink that.
Yes, so I'm drinking tart cherry juice right now, and I mix it with water.
It's a good like electrolyte like supplement, like almost like if you're making like a sports drink.
Yeah.
Put it in with some water,
or
coconut
if you have
water,
like a fruit smoothie.
Yeah.
That's what we like to put it with too. But the beet juice is really tough. I mean, we've done it before, and Rafe can drink it a lot smoother than I can. It is tough. Yeah. And honestly, I just try to chug it because I'm like, this is going to help me be a better runner. But the thing is, it's like, these are all natural food for you. Yeah. So, obviously look at the bottles of what you're buying and make sure it is just the pure ingredients.
Yep.
But it is like, this is just like natural food, and it does all these things for you. It's so cool.
It is cool. I have a quick story for all my people out there. If you're going to drink beet juice, specifically, I don't know what happened.
I thought it was cherry juice.
No, it was beet juice.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay.
We bought our own beets. And,
yeah. Okay.
We bought our own beets, and we made our own beet juice by blending and pureeing it. I went to work. I went to pee, and my pee was very close to the color red, and I had a mini panic attack. And I was freaking out, like, oh my God, I have to call someone. And then I was like, oh, it has to be from the beet juice. And then I looked it up, and it can and probably will change the color of your urine, just so you know.
So for some reason, I felt like that happened with the cherry juice.
No, that was the beet juice. That's when we were blending that. It was rough. I did a beet and ginger.
Yes.
It was the toughest drink.
Yeah, and tried to make it taste good, but
oh my gosh, it's like beets are very grassy and ginger's just
what's the word? Earthy.
Yeah, it tastes like dirt.
Yes, that's how I feel like.
It's like dirt.
Too. Some people love them. So no offense.
People love beets. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't eat beets that often, but the beet juice it's tough. Hard. It's hard. I mean, and you could look into this. There's a bunch of foods that, you could go on and on about this topic. Things like avocados for inflammation. I don't even know.
Blueberries have good antioxidants. All these different things.
There's a ton of things.
It's just pretty cool to kind of look into like what real foods actually give you like little superpowers. I like to call them.
Yeah. A book that we got.
Run fast, eat slow.
Cool book with a bunch of like really good superfood runner
and recipes.
And they're good recipes.
Yeah, for sure. And it kind of talks about all these different things that help. So there's different smoothies. There's this really great apple green tea smoothie.
We haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, and basically it tells you all these ingredients that are in it and how it helps you.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that like you're saying, foods have powers. So be cognizant of what you're putting into your body, because that's really the fuel that's making you perform. It's like gasoline to a car.
Yeah. And so think about it too before you start running, right? Before you go for your run, after your run, right? We're talking about how to get better when you're not running. So after you come back, like how are you going to recover? Like what food, what nutrients are you putting back into your body?
Let's talk drinking.
Okay. Drinking what?
Alcohol.
Okay.
A little bit of a bummer, you know?
Yeah. I think that ever since we
started running, we don't like drinking as much.
Yeah, which has been obviously for a few years, but I think naturally we're not big drinkers in general, but once we realized the impact that having alcohol has on our body, and we just kind of realized like, I just really want to do well tomorrow, my long run, that having a drink is not going to be worth it.
For sure.
It's really going to make me less recovered the next day. My resting heart rate is going to skyrocket. My HRV gets out of whack. Your quality of sleep, like we talked about, your body's focusing on getting the alcohol out of your body, which is really crazy. Yeah. We learned from the Whoop podcast, you know, with our Whoops and the data it provides.
Yeah.
It's really taught us what impacts your body. And it's very crazy how much just like one drink could have. And of course, like we love to have a balance and you need a balance. Yeah. We're not professional athletes at all.
Yeah,
we just love to
enjoy our lives.
Yeah. We just love to run and, you know, we want to do well and that makes us happy. So about having a balance.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely a balance to figuring it out. If you're interested more, as Tay mentioned, Whoop has, I feel like a few good episodes that talk about alcohol consumption. But when you're balancing it, you know, something we do is that if I know my buddies are coming up Saturday and we're going to drink, you could try to think about shifting your long run maybe to Friday so that Saturday, you know, your body's not super tired and exhausted.
Or dehydrated.
And then you're asking it to just take on more work of trying to extract all the poison that you're putting into it, which sounds very extreme. But when they phrase it that way of like, it is pretty much like poison. Your body's goal when you're drinking alcohol is how do I get rid of this? How do I get rid of this? How do I get rid of this?
Yeah, for sure. We personally notice the difference, but like we said, it's important to have a balance. It doesn't mean that we never have fun or enjoy ourselves.
Like if you want a beer after your run, like have a beer. And, you know, again, I don't mean to always just plug the products, but this is an Athletic brew. It's a non-alcoholic beer. And I feel like when I tell people about it, they're like, what, why would you have a non-alcoholic beer? And I've been on this wave. I think before it was cool. Yeah. I'd like to say, but anyway, I treat it as a decaf coffee. That's my analogy. Sometimes you're over caffeinated and you're like, I kind of love the taste of coffee, so I just want another one, but I'll do a decaf so it doesn't jack me up and make me all hyper. Same thing with the beer. It's like, I like the taste of a beer. I like the feeling that I feel relaxed or kind of like it's a reward, but I don't want the ramifications of everything that drinking, you know, beers typically does.
Yes. I love that you use that analogy.
Yeah.
I've also noticed that mocktails have become very popular.
They have.
I love on Instagram, I always see videos of people coming up with different like mocktail recipes. Yeah. And they change it to be like healthy and good for you, which is really cool. I don't know.
I think it's a little bit of a placebo. Like, hey, I want to have a fun drink and enjoy myself. And a lot of people look at, you know, liquor as a reward. And I totally get that. And I think we still should reward ourselves, but sometimes doing these non-alcoholic versions, it's kind of tricking our brain like, oh, I'm still having a fun cocktail, but there's actually no liquor in it.
Yeah, for sure. So again, it's about balance and doing what works for you. But
the last food/drink section, which is the opposite, which is consuming water, being hydrated, and electrolytes.
Yeah.
So I could start of just something that kind of blew my mind.
Sure.
Is I thought electrolytes were just like, oh, them drinking electrolytes. I didn't know electrolytes is a profile. There are different types of electrolytes. There's potassium, there's sodium, there's magnesium, chloride. So finding a drink that works for you. Yeah, so the main electrolyte you're losing when you exercise is sodium. So naturally what makes sense is to consume a drink or a mix that has sodium to replenish what your body's losing.
Right. How did you learn this? And what do you do? And how does it help you? And is it the same for everyone?
Something we still haven't done yet, which is a next step for us, is to get our sodium levels tested. So to actually see how much sodium we are losing, because there are people who are saltier sweaters than other people. So if you go outside and run and like you're covered in what looks like salt, because it is salt, like white specks, you're probably losing a lot of sodium when you exercise.
Right.
But I learned, I was actually, again, from the Whoop podcast, they were talking about a new electrolyte mix at the time, which was Element, which I feel like has gotten really popular now. As Element and other brands start to break down the stigma that's come with sodium, I think a lot of times sodium has been associated with diseases.
Greasy food.
Yeah, well, I think people are saying, high sodium is high blood pressure, but a lot of times those diseases or negative things of sodium is coming from the crappy food that has sodium in it. So if you eat a diet, that's of McDonald's, of course, there's a ton of sodium. And, that's obviously not good for you, but the correlation between sodium and being an athlete, they're changing that narrative, which I think is a good one to have. So anyway, anything you want to add to electrolytes that you've learned yourself?
I think that I've noticed a difference of having an Element packet and putting it in my water. I do feel more energized. I actually sleep better. I've noticed those kind of differences, not just my performance with running, but just my everyday, energy.
So there's something, and I never like speaking on a topic I'm not 100% sure of, but I know sodium plays some role in your brain, that it's connecting, I think like almost like receptors or things in your brain that are talking with one another. And sodium is what is used to for them to chat with one another. So anyway, sodium will help with like if you have brain fog and just better cognitive decisions, whatever you're consuming, just pay attention to what the electrolyte mix of it is. I think sometimes it is still generalized, like, oh, this has electrolytes. If you take a drink like Prime, which is super popular now, this Logan Paul drink, it's all potassium. And not that potassium's bad. You could actually just drink that all day long. But if you're doing a hard workout, that's maybe not the best thing for you to help you get back recovered.
Yeah, so do your own research on what works for you. There's all different types of tests that you can take. There's like salty patches or something like that you can put on your skin. See what you're losing when you're exercising. Try out different things. Try different brands. Element. Try like Himalayan salt and lemon juice in your water. Yeah. To try to stick with something more natural that doesn't have a bunch of sugars in it.
Yeah. Some of the brands we've tried and that we've liked and would recommend are Element, Relight, Noon,
BPN,
and BPN's electrolyte mix.
Yeah, we've tried them all, and they all have different levels of
sodium
or just ingredients in them. And sometimes some have flavors in them, which might have stevia, which is like a healthier version of sugar. Yeah. But do what works for you, your own research, and we've noticed the difference.
For sure. All right, next way you can become a better runner when you're not running has to do with the mental aspect of it. So being a good teammate to yourself.
Yeah, I love that.
So anything you think, Tay, of like how do you become a good runner when you're not running from the mental side of things?
Sure. So after you're done running and maybe the workout didn't go as well as you hoped, or you just feel tired and, it wasn't the best run that you had, be kind to yourself. Yeah. Show appreciation for your body and just be grateful that you were able to move and that you're able to do it. Yeah. Keeps your spirits up. It keeps you motivated. And if you talk positively to yourself, I think your body will respond to that. Mm-hmm. Just like when we say be a good teammate to yourself, you wouldn't tell your teammate that they didn't do a good job, that they should have done this, they should have done that, they could have done better. You have to speak positively to yourself and it will keep you encouraged and keep moving on. And there's always next time. You got it. And I think positive self-talk is really important.
Yeah, I think it's a big overlooked part of being a good runner.
Yeah.
Is really taking care of your mental self. You're going to run your best when you show up your best self mentally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I love that.
A lot of things that go with that are positive self-talk. Do not compare yourself to other people. Be clear in your intentions of why you're doing the sport. These are all important things that I think what Tay said is the best thing to hold at the top is that this is a blessing that you're able to move your body. We're fortunate enough to do this. Not everyone is granted that ability to move. And when you get in these negative moments, just ground yourself in that reality that like this is a blessing to do this.
Yes, I love that. So another way to keep you encouraged besides positive self-talk is sharing or speaking your goals out loud. Helps you stay accountable.
Something that has benefited me, and you have been a supporter of this for as long as I've known you, is to manifest what you want, what your goals are, and to really see it, and then you will be it. So that can mean a variety of things, but it could be writing down your goal on a piece of paper and sticking up to the mirror. It could be telling your friends and family that I'm running this race and this is the time I'm trying to hit. It can be posting on social media that this is the goal I'm going after. Just something to speak it to existence. And I think that helps hold you more accountable.
And so you think by being more accountable, you will be a better runner.
Yeah. And it's not even necessarily about if you hit that goal or not. Mm-hmm. It's just about having a goal. Mm-hmm. We all should have goals. We all should have, that's how you become passionate about a subject, is by having a goal you're going after. And if you don't hit it, who cares? You go after it again. That's the fun part of this sport. Yeah. But I think it's important to manifest and speak what you want into an existence.
Yes. It doesn't have to just be a time. It could be a distance. It could be that you want to run
completion
three times a week.
Yeah.
It could just be very simple, and you just tell your friends about it. Family, loved ones.
The mirror.
Love that.
Our last thing of how to become a better runner when you're not running, you've heard us talk about it before, is to engage yourself into the sport. So Tay, how can you do that?
Well, you can do that by learning about it, do your own research, and become invested. Look and research into what electrolytes might work for you. Look into what gels, what will help you recover after you run. If you kind of do that research and invest yourself into it, you'll get more passionate and you're learning something to become a better runner.
It's like becoming a student.
Yes. Yeah, I like that.
Right? Study the subject matter, become interested in it. And that's going to vary by person to person, how you study it. But it could be watching the sport, if that's something you want to try watching. It could be showing up to community races and really immersing yourself in the culture. It could be joining a club. It could be, like Tay said, doing your own research and really getting invested into it. Just always stay learning. It doesn't have to be like you're reading a bunch of books about running. It could just be a small thing you learn every day.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part, is that we've been running, just like generalized running, for like, over 10 years, and I'm still learning every single day.
Yeah, that's the best part, is that it's just a journey. And every time that you go out there, you're going to learn something new. And it's fun also to write it down. I've spoken about that after a race, writing down what went well, what didn't. That way you can learn for next time.
Yeah.
What didn't sit well with your stomach, stuff like that.
Well, you know that from experience?
Yeah, I once took a running gel before a 5K.
We're learning.
And it did not go well. So, learn and engage into the sport of running.
It's more impressive that Tay puked in the middle of the race and still finished.
I did.
Still ran a pretty good time.
I tried. Didn't give up. It was tough.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it was a good time. Okay, time for questions.
Tay, you take it.
Okay, well, first, thank you so much for submitting questions. They are the fuel to our podcast.
Ooh.
If you have topic ideas, send them over as well. Okay, the question is, do you have apps or programs you use for mobility? Guilty of not stretching during race training windows.
I don't use an app anymore, although there have been apps that I have used, that we've both used. It's either the Nike training app, which is free, or at least it was when we were using it, which actually I think has a warm-up for pre-run and post-run, or Peloton. Those are the two. But Peloton, I had a membership through my mom, But I think something we implement that I see a lot of runners don't is having a dynamic warm-up before you run. So not static stretching, not just like touching your toes, but like actually having a warm up with the intention that I want my body to be warm or sweating by the time that I start the run.
You know, like you said, when you have it before you go for a run, a dynamic warm up will help kind of keep you moving and you're mimicking the movements that you will be doing.
Yeah.
And then stretching after, you are stretching and lengthening the muscles. So you're holding them for a longer period of time.
Yep.
Foam rolling is really great.
Foam rolling is big.
That's really awesome.
Gone back into that and it's good. Like a nice pre-run foam roll.
I like to try to keep my tay tips in line with the episode topic. So keeping with the topic on how to get better at running when you're not running.
Yes.
We spoke about it a little bit, but I'd like to just kind of give a tip, a little bit more of a deeper conversation. It's not deep. I'm just expanding on it.
Get deep on us.
No, it's not that deep. It's we talked about balance when we're talking about going out and having fun.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have a balance when it comes to resting. So if you really need like a mental day off, just take it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I like to run to help with my mental headspace and put myself in a better mood, but sometimes you just need a break. So my tay tip is to listen to your body and take a break, have balance. If you need a day with your friends and enjoy yourself, if you need a day to yourself just to take off, then just do it.
I'll hit you with a rant.
Okay, it's your Rafe rant.
I think over the past couple of years, I'm not a big fall guy, meaning the season, but we are stripping ourselves as a society away from the excitement of fall by having such early timing on everything.
Oh, for holidays.
Well, the fact that there's Halloween candy in the stores right now and it's August, that you can get a pumpkin spice latte, that, you know, like all of this stuff, it's too soon.
Yeah.
Like, we got to have like a calendar date, just as we do, you know, how normal sane people do for Christmas. Once Thanksgiving is over, it's Christmas time.
So not everyone feels that way, Rafe.
But that's wild if you don't. You don't celebrate Christmas before Thanksgiving. You don't celebrate fall before fall starts. And last time I checked, the fall solstice, or whatever the hell that thing is September 20th or 21st?
23rd, something like that.
So we got to wait till then. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your support.
As always, we believe in you. And Tay, before I ask you to take it away, please consider writing a review, sending this to a friend, submitting a shout out, and submitting a question.
We appreciate it.
Now you could take it away.
Go run the day. Don't let the day run you.
Oh!